together. But now I want to cross live to Israel. I just want to read out the we've managed to get David Mencer, and if you don't know that name, I can give you a little bit of a background. Former director of UK Labour Friends of Israel, who's taken 70 British MPs to Israel and Palestine Authority. He's been in Gaza and Ramallah many times. He's advised British Prime Ministers, Tony Blair, Gordon Brown and Boris Johnson, communications expert, formerly at the Perez Centre for Peace and Innovation and Honest Reporting, and joins me now. David, thank you so much for joining me. I've been asking my audience what they feel about the media coverage. And I mean, there's lots and lots of different media coverage. It depends which country you're in. It depends what, political spectrum there is and what have you. Let me start with you. Am I right in saying that you and your family were in a shelter? I mean, can you hear sirens? Have you heard sirens going off from where you are?
Yes, since last Saturday, exactly a week ago, we've heard sirens here in Israel. Just today at 11:30, we heard sirens here in our home here in central Tel Aviv. The actual siren was a little bit more subdued than usual, so we assumed it was in the next town. You know, Tel Aviv is in quite a tight conurbation of towns with Tel Aviv, Petah Tikva, Ramat Gan, all very, very close. And we heard the air raid siren today at about 11:30, and we assumed it was not directly next to us, but in the town next to us. But believe you me, when that boom came overhead, it absolutely shook me to the ground. And I took my family, my wife and my 4 children, and we immediately ran into our bomb shelter. You know, all properties here in Israel are built, certainly new properties in the last 25 years or so are built with a what's called a safe room within the apartment. And it's a reinforced concrete room with a steel shutter. And we all rushed into that room and were instructed by the home command to stay there for 10 minutes to ensure that there's no fallout, because it's not only the missile overhead and hopefully the Iron Dome, Israel's amazing Iron Dome system, which knocks that rocket, that terrorist rocket out of the sky, but it's also large pieces of shrapnel which fall down to the ground as well. When we returned home from visiting my brother last Saturday night, my wife and my family, we were in our car driving home. It's about a half an hour drive. The air raid siren went off. We pulled off to the side of the road. And I took my kids and my wife out of the car. We jumped over the barrier, it was the side of the motorway, and we put our heads down and we heard the most ginormous booms. That it was almost like actually living on the set of a Star Wars movie with extremely large booms, kids crying, me trying to reassure them. And then as that cleared away, when we drove off, we saw these large pieces of shrapnel on the road. So this is a dangerous time. But I tell you, Trisha, all of us feel right now, the whole country is certainly in a state of shock. There's no doubt about it. Our sense of security has very much been shaken in this country. Our reliance in the armed forces and our technological know-how, which we of course pride ourselves in, and perhaps there was some complacency. I was going to say what we've seen, bits on, and it depends where you get your news, obviously, but some of the anger about, well, hang on, I remember when I lived in the Middle East, even then we were trained by Mossad what to do in hijack situations. When I was a kid, I spent time on a kibbutz, and it just took me back when you said about the alarms, and we're like, oh, and the Israeli kids were like, no, but we always, every movie, everything, it's always Mossad are the intelligence kings of the world. And now there's this anger towards, I know some of the ministers have been attacked publicly when they've gone out, saying, how have you failed us yet again? Look, I think that's right, Trisha, but I think that is true. There is a sense of shock in this country. Yeah. But there is also a steely determination to get through this. There is also an ironclad determination that we are facing barbarism in this country. Not freedom fighters, not people that are fighting for their freedom or to create their own state for the Palestinian people. We are fighting barbarism. What we saw, I don't want to go through again the litany of disgusting things that I've said. Just this weekend, I was in my own synagogue, which is a risk in itself, going to my own synagogue, and there was a rabbi in the back of the synagogue who looked visibly shaken, and I asked him how he was doing, as you do at this time. And he's part of the rabbinic team of the state, which are providing the last dignity rights, burial rights for the people, for the 1,300 people that have been killed. And he said to me, David, what they're telling you on the news is you don't even know the half of the barbarism these people have been through. But I want to say again to you, Trisha, make no mistake. The Jewish people have experienced evil in our time. Excuse me for becoming emotional at this point. The Jewish people have experienced evil. We know what it looks like. And last Saturday, in the first few hours of the day until the army got their act together, we saw that barbarism, and we're picking up the pieces of that barbarism. And the people that died in that barbarism are just now being buried. We know what inhumanity looks like, and we will stand up to it. And believe you me, Trisha, if there are people on the streets of London who are going out to support some mistaken idea of Palestinian statehood or whatever, you are wrong. You are supporting barbarism, inhumanity, and it will be defeated. It will be defeated. You mark my words.
And is there, I mean, there's some young groups talking about as well the boomerang effect of that barbarism, destroying the very people it's supposedly meant to be saving, i.e. Palestinians, that, you know, you can't have gone and done something as hideous as this without thinking that there were going to be repercussions on the very people you are claiming to be helping.
Look, what goes through the mind of someone that kills babies, purposefully targeted? I'll leave it for the psychologists and for the intellectuals to try and understand what that's all about. For sure, Israel making peace with a whole range of Arab countries, including potentially Saudi Arabia. This does destabilize the terrorists. This does destabilize the Hamas and Iran, principally Iran. It does make them feel extremely uncomfortable. But that being said, we'll leave that for afterwards. Right now, Israel is facing the most heinous enemy, and we have seen evil in the face, and we will face them down, and they will be defeated. They will be defeated. Now, I would have loved to have seen demonstrations in Gaza over the last 20 years or so against Hamas. I've never seen them. Maybe there've been one or two, but I've never ever seen great demonstrations against the rule of Hamas. So all these people that are saying, oh, what about the poor civilians? Yes, of course. Yes, of course. No civilian should ever be targeted. But let's be clear right now. When these attacks took place, they celebrated in Gaza. They handed out sweets. When the Twin Towers in New York were destroyed, they celebrated, they handed out sweets. When ordinary people going about their everyday work or life are killed and barbarized in the most inhumane way, they celebrate over there. It's time for the people of Gaza to make their own decision now as well. Do you want to live under this medieval regime, or do you want to go for freedom? If you want to, do you want to join civilized nations? Right now, it looks very clear to me that they are supporting Hamas. There is no hostile.
Well, I was going to ask, how do you feel about Jeremy Corbyn? I'm just reading news that's coming through. Jeremy Corbyn addressing, I believe, a pro-Palestine meeting, but he has, even though he did condemn the horrific work of Hamas, he's condemned that, but he's there apparently he has addressed that meeting. How do you feel about it? And you've been an advisor to Labour ministers, clearly not to Jeremy Corbyn. But how do you feel when you hear that?
Trisha, I think Jewish people have a sixth sense when it comes to Jew haters. And when I look in Jeremy Corbyn's eyes, and when I've listened to him for the last 5 or 6 years, and when I've watched his career very close up for the last 20 or 30 years, I know a Jew hater when I see one. And Jeremy Corbyn is a Jew hater. He is,
even though he deny. I've got to say that he would deny that. So I obviously, for legal reasons, I've got to say he would deny that. He would just say that he's on the side of the underdog, the Palestinians.
Yeah, so the people that barbarize children are no longer underdogs. I think we should get that straight off the table right now. The people that shoot families in their homes, that burn them to a crisp, that go to a music festival and mow people down, 260 of them, that take 130 people hostage, right? Unarmed civilians, Holocaust survivors, and take them into Gaza. These aren't people that have any sort of justified cause. These are inhumane, barbaric advocates in the region. And Jeremy
so what
Corbyn,
would you say to Jeremy Corbyn?
Because Jeremy Corbyn is in the pay of the Iranian government. He frequently appears on Press TV, which is an arm paid for by the Iranian government. He calls Hamas his friends. He calls Islamic Jihad his friends, Hezbollah. He calls them his friends. He lays wreaths at terrorists' graves. The terrorists that.
All right, I've only because of the rules of libel. Okay,
no, I'm not worried about these things because Jeremy Corbyn has been expelled from the Labour Party.
We need to be. I hear what you're saying, but we, as an organisation, obviously, I've got to say that we have to give him right of reply for that, and I can't take that as carte blanche. I'm not saying that I don't hear what you say and how you feel. Just finally, and I really hope that I pray for your family. I really do. You're telling us about being with your children. What do you say to your children about the future as a dad to your kids? What do you? I can't begin. I cannot begin to imagine how because you said comforting them and they're crying. What the hell do you say to your kids about a future? It is terrifying.
Look, I'll tell you clearly, Trisha, I've got 4 kids of all different ages from 17 to 4 years old. Right. The younger ones, we try to shield them from this. There's no way of explaining this to them. So that's clear. The older ones, in an era where Holocaust survivors are dying, are no longer amongst us because of how long ago, 75 years ago, the Holocaust, we tell them quite clearly that, let's not kid ourselves in this world. There is evil in this world. There is darkness in this world. And there are people who are against humanity. There are people who are prepared to perform barbaric acts for their perceived cause. But I don't think it's for any perceived cause. I think they're just bloodthirsty. And that's the point I make to them, that evil exists in this world in the same way.
But isn't it awful? It's so awful. My husband has relatives, 2 sons who have just been called up. But as a parent, it's emotional that, you want to protect your children from the evil and you can't. And to me, that is, it is that, and that's what and I'm not involved other than, as I say, my husband is Jewish and that's the closest I can get. But we're seeing teenagers at that age when they're about to fly the nest, when the world is their oyster, you know, where all the possibilities, you know, with teens, you're going to live forever and dance forever. And no words.
Yeah. You know, unfortunately, perhaps we've been a little bit too complacent. You know, people in Israel always grew up with the idea that we were surrounded by enemies, but all these Abraham Accords and the peace with these different countries, perhaps it lulled us into a full sense of security that we were at last getting through this. But unfortunately, this has been a terrible wake-up call that there is a reason why our young people, my son, he got his first call up from the army. He's only 17. He'll be going in when he's 18. I mean, you know, and the time when kids should be, exactly as you say, enjoying themselves and going to university, he's going to have to give up 3 years of his life to protect the country. Unfortunately, this is the necessity, but we have no other land here in Israel. There is only one Jewish state, only one homeland for the Jewish people. Only one place in the world where if a Jew cannot feel comfortable or is being persecuted anywhere else in the world, he can come right here, Trisha. Yeah. This is the place where he can come, but it must be a safe place. And believe me, this has awoken the Jewish people. They have come together at this time from a period of time when there was a lot of fracture, a lot of disagreement about democracy, you know, all the things, all the protests which we have never ever seen in Gaza, we've never ever seen in the Palestinian Authority. This idea about the future of this country, we have come together, and believe you me, Trisha, we have seen evil in the eye, and we will see it down, and we will protect our people. This country will protect our people.
David, thank you so much for talking with us, and please, you know, we pray that you, your family, and everybody stay safe. David Mencer there.